Matthew Louis Gaetz II is an American politician who served as the U.S. Representative for Florida's 1st Congressional District from January 2017 until his resignation in November 2024, when Donald Trump announced Gaetz as his nominee for United States Attorney General. His district included all of Escambia, Okaloosa, and Santa Rosa counties, and portions of Walton County. A member of the Republican Party and a self-described libertarian populist, he is widely regarded as a proponent of far-right politics as well as an ally of Trump. Early life and career. Matthew Louis Gaetz II was born on May 7, 1982, in Hollywood, Florida, to Victoria and Don Gaetz, who later became a prominent local politician. He grew up near Fort Walton Beach and graduated from Niceville High School. He graduated from Florida State University in 2003 with a Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Sciences and from the William and Mary Law School in 2007 with a Juris Doctor. Gaetz was admitted to the Florida bar on February 6, 2008. Gaetz's father represented parts of Northwest Florida as a member of the Florida State Senate from 2006 to 2016, was Senate President from 2012 to 2014, and was elected to the Florida Senate again in 2024. Gaetz's grandfather, Jerry Gaetz, was the mayor of Rugby, North Dakota, and a candidate for lieutenant governor of North Dakota at the 1964 North Dakota Republican Party State Convention, where he died of a heart attack. After graduating from law school, Gaetz worked at the law firm Keefe, Ankers & Gordon in Fort Walton Beach. In October 2021, the Florida bar suspended Gaetz from practicing law due to unpaid fees. He was reinstated after the $265 fee was paid. Net worth. Matt Gaetz is an American lawyer and politician who has a net worth of $700,000. Florida House of Representatives. In March 2010, after Republican State Representative Ray Sansom's resignation on corruption charges in February 2010, Gaetz ran in the special election to succeed Sansom in the 4th District, which included southern Santa Rosa County and Okaloosa County. In a crowded Republican primary that included Craig Barker, Cabe Woods, Jerry G. Melvin, and Bill Garvey, Gaetz won with 43% of the vote. In the special general election, Gaetz defeated Democratic nominee Jan Fernald with 66% of the vote. During his campaign, Gaetz received almost $480,000 in contributions, about 5 times more than anyone else in the field, and almost 50 times more than Fernald, including $100,000 of his own money. Gaetz was unopposed for a full term in 2010. In 2012, following the reconfiguration of Florida House of Representatives districts, Gaetz's district no longer contained any of Santa Rosa County. He was re-elected unopposed in 2012 and 2014. While serving in the State House, Gaetz and State Senator Joe Negron proposed legislation that would hasten the execution of many inmates on Florida's death row by requiring the governor to sign an execution warrant for those who had exhausted their appeals. He also joined State Senator Greg Evers in proposing legislation to eliminate the federal ethanol content mandate that 10% of gasoline sold in Florida contain ethanol. Governor Rick Scott signed the legislation in May 2013. Gaetz was one of 2 members to vote against the Florida bill due to personal animosity, criminalizing revenge porn, in 2015, after having successfully blocked the bill previously. Florida House Speaker Will Weatherford announced that he would order hearings on the Stand Your Ground law. Gaetz, the chairman of the Criminal Justice Subcommittee, was tasked with reviewing the legislation. He announced before hearings that he would not support changing one damn comma, but said he would listen to both sides' testimony. After the hearings, he authored legislation to allow defendants who successfully used a Stand Your Ground defense during trial to be able to expunge relevant information from their criminal records. When his subcommittee was considering legislation that would keep suspects' mugshots off the internet until their convictions, Gaetz brought up his 2008 arrest and non-conviction, arguing that his mistakes made him who he is and that publicly available mugshots could be a problem for those unaccustomed to publicity. In 2015, Gaetz supported the presidential campaign of Jeb Bush. Bush emailed Gaetz about introducing a bill to change the 2016 Florida Republican presidential primary to an earlier date in order to benefit Bush, Florida's former governor. Don Gaetz, then the president of the Florida Senate, also endorsed Bush, along with several other members of Florida's state legislature. Personal life. In June 2020, apparently prompted by an argument with then-Representative Cedric Richmond, Gaetz said that a 19-year-old Cuban named Nestor Galban, whom he regarded as a son, had been living with him for about 7 years. Gaetz later clarified that Nestor is his ex-girlfriend's younger brother, and Nestor spends time with his sister, with Gaetz's family, and with Gaetz himself. The two are not related genetically or legally. Gaetz said, "Our relationship as a family is defined by our love for each other, not by any paperwork." In 2016, he called Galban a local student. In 2017, he called Galban my helper. In December 2020, Gaetz announced his engagement to his girlfriend, Ginger Luckey, the sister of Oculus VR founder and major Republican donor Palmer Luckey. They married in August 2021. Gaetz is a Baptist. U.S. House of Representatives. In 2016, Gaetz announced his candidacy for the 1st District State Senate seat held by his father, Don Gaetz. He withdrew from the race and instead ran for the U.S. House seat representing Florida's 1st Congressional District. Gaetz won the Republican primary with 35.7% of the vote, making the 1st District Florida's most Republican district. In the November 8th general election, he defeated Democratic nominee Stephen Specht with 69% of the vote. Gaetz donated $200,000 of his own money to his congressional campaign and resigned from 2 Florida House political action committees he had started and chaired. He served as a top campaign advisor to Ron DeSantis during his 2018 gubernatorial campaign. In April 2019, Gaetz hired Darren Beattie as a speechwriter, having previously been fired as a speechwriter for the Trump administration after attending a conference associated with white nationalists. In 2021, Gaetz filed an ethics complaint against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, claiming she had committed a flagrant violation of decorum. In February 2020, Gaetz announced he would no longer accept campaign contributions from federal political action committees. In the 2023 speakership election, Republicans regained a narrow House majority, with Democrats holding 212 votes. Gaetz filed a resolution to oust Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives on October 2, 2023, but was accused in April 2024 of filing the motion to oust him as a means of protecting himself against allegations of having had sex with a 17-year-old minor. In 2019, Republican Congressman Gaetz directed a tweet to Michael Cohen, Trump's former personal attorney, suggesting Cohen had multiple extramarital affairs and his wife might be unfaithful while he was in prison due to new information disclosed to her. This was deemed an attempt to intimidate a witness. Gaetz initially defended his tweet, saying it was part of witness testing, not witness tampering. After criticism from other members of Congress and an implicit rebuke by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Gaetz deleted the tweet and apologized. Despite not being a member of the House Oversight Committee, Gaetz appeared at Cohen's hearing, and the Florida bar opened an investigation into his tweet. In 2020, Politico reported that Gaetz spent nearly $200,000 on taxpayer funds renting an office from Collier Merrill, a Pensacola real estate developer and restaurateur. The Office of Congressional Ethics terminated its review of the lease arrangements in July 2020. In February 2021, Gaetz and a dozen other Republican House members skipped votes and enlisted others to vote for them, citing the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The Campaign for Accountability filed a complaint with the House Committee on Ethics and requested an investigation into Gaetz and the other lawmakers. In March 2023, The Intercept reported that Gaetz had hired Derek Miller as his military legislative aide, who spent 8 years in prison after being convicted of murdering a civilian during his army service in Afghanistan. Political positions. Gaetz, a liberal populist, has far-right views and has invited Holocaust denier Charles C. Johnson to attend Trump's State of the Union address. He has endorsed the white nationalist Great Replacement theory and called the Anti-Defamation League a racist organization. Gaetz was an early supporter of Donald Trump and promised to kill Muslim terrorists and build the wall. In 2022, Gaetz suggested that Republicans should prioritize impeachment inquiries against Democrats, holding them accountable. Cannabis. Gaetz has introduced legislation to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act and loosen federal restrictions on research cultivation. He criticized the federal government for lying about the medical benefits of cannabis. Gaetz was a co-sponsor of the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement (MORE) Act and introduced the States Act to prevent federal interference in states legalizing cannabis. He has had multiple conversations with President Trump about cannabis policy. Donald Trump. In 2017, House Republican Democrat Joe Gaetz prepared a nonverbal town hall in Pace, Florida, where he was questioned about his relationship with Trump, his stance on repealing the Affordable Care Act, and his proposal to abolish the Environmental Protection Agency. Gaetz was one of 18 House Republicans to vote to nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize in May 2018. In February 2020, Gaetz said he would support a pardon for Trump associate Roger Stone. Gaetz is a member of the House Judiciary Committee but not of the Intelligence, Foreign Affairs, or Oversight and Reform Committees, so he was not allowed to join lawmakers' closed-door deposition of former White House Russia aide Fiona Hill in October 2019. Gaetz privately asked the White House for a blanket pardon for himself and some unknown congressional allies during Trump's first presidency. Response and other developments. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy announced in March 2021 that he had no plans to remove Representative Gaetz from his Judiciary and Armed Services committees, but might change his mind if Gaetz gets indicted or if it comes out to be true. On April 1, 2021, CNN reported that Gaetz had shown pictures of naked women to colleagues on the House floor and allegedly claimed to have slept with the women in the photos. Gaetz's communications director, Luke Ball, and legislative director, Devin Murphy, resigned. The New York Times reported that Gaetz privately requested a blanket presidential pardon for himself and others, which was reportedly denied because it would set a bad precedent. Trump publicly denied that Gaetz had asked him for a pardon. Gaetz's congressional office released a statement purportedly from his female employees vouching for his character, stating they uniformly reject these allegations as false. The House Ethics Committee opened an investigation into allegations that Gaetz may have engaged in sexual misconduct and/or illicit drug use, shared inappropriate images or videos on the House floor, misused state identification records, converted campaign funds to personal use, and/or accepted a bribe, improper gratuity, or impermissible gift. In October 2019, Gaetz organized a storming of a sensitive compartmented information facility on Capitol Hill by 24 Republican congressmen, including House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, to listen to the deposition of a Pentagon official during the impeachment inquiry into Trump. The congressmen's cell phones and devices put the secure facility and U.S. national security at risk. House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Benny Thompson of Mississippi wrote to the House Sergeant-at-Arms about Gaetz and others, requesting action. Capitol, and voted against the second impeachment of Donald Trump. In August 2021, Gaetz co-sponsored a resolution to impeach Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas and President Biden. He called impeaching Biden a priority, believing Republicans were hesitant but would feel betrayed if they didn't. Gaetz co-sponsored several resolutions to impeach Mayorkas and Biden in the 118th Congress. In September 2023, Gaetz denounced the impeachment effort as a political stunt. Economy. Gaetz voted for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, 181. He acknowledged that the bill's pass-through tax deduction would benefit Trump, but added, "So many Americans benefit when commercial real estate becomes easier and more accessible." Gaetz was among the 71 Republicans who voted against final passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023 in the House. Environment. In 2016, Gaetz acknowledged global warming but said he disagrees with the scientific consensus on climate change that human activity is the primary cause. In April 2017, the Center for American Progress and Vice Media said Gaetz was a climate change denier, citing his 2016 statements. In January 2017, Gaetz proposed legislation to abolish the Environmental Protection Agency, claiming that it hurts small businesses via the costs associated with compliance. In November 2017, Gaetz joined the Bipartisan Climate Solutions Caucus. He said he advocated technological innovation and economic incentives that address climate change, and increased federal funds for global warming research by NASA, NOAA, and universities, but remained opposed to increased environmental regulation. In 2019, Gaetz introduced the Bipartisan Superpollutants Act, which aimed to slow climate change by regulating greenhouse gases, especially black carbon, hydrofluorocarbons, and methane. A press release stated, "These short-lived climate pollutants, also called superpollutants, are significantly more potent than carbon dioxide."